Do standardized tests make you sick? Every year when I-Step rolls around, we all get that bad feeling in our stomachs. And then we wonder if it's because of the test or because of what we ate for lunch. So much could go wrong when taking the I-Steps. Maybe the computers are down, so you get the privilege of sitting there for 45 minutes while your teacher tries to fix them. Or maybe you get a writing prompt, like me, about how you would design a stamp in a stamp designing contest. How exciting. Do these tests ever make you wonder, why can't they ask me how I feel? It's always about what we know, not what we think. This is because we as a society don't focus on emotional intelligence, or EQ, enough. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, evaluate, and regulate your emotions as well as those around you. Joshua Friedman, a CEO at 6 Seconds, contends that emotional intelligence is an enabler of cognitive intelligence, or IQ. Without emotional intelligence, we as a society won't be able to better future generations or better our own futures even. Therefore, society should shift the focus from cognitive intelligence to emotional intelligence. Now, I'm not saying that we should completely ignore IQ, but we need to place emphasis on EQ as we do IQ. Today, I'll go over how low emotional intelligence affects you in the classroom, and how it affects you in the workplace, and how we can change this. Now, we all know that one teacher that's way too hard on their students and gives out way too much homework. Then I-Step rolls around and you have even more stress to add it on to your endless amounts of homework. I wish I was asked more how I feel than how often than what I know. Now, granted, I am a little high maintenance and need to be asked every few hours how I'm doing. This is because teachers don't have as much time to teach EQ compared to IQ. Now, I'm not saying that all teachers are like this. I have many great teachers that teach both EQ and IQ, but the ones that just teach the test and skip over EQ really have an effect on you and your future. This all starts at a very young age. Daniel Goleman, a physicist, says, "A child's readiness for school depends on the most basic of all knowledge, how to learn." This all goes back to how. How do you feel? How are you doing? Both of these questions help us to teach EQ. Too often than not, teachers are told to teach as soon as you get to school. They don't have time to teach you how to learn or how to feel or even how to understand. And then slowly as the years go on, your answer to "how are you doing" will go from great to just fine. And as the years go on past, a low EQ will change you even more. Lisa Cadane, a journalist from the Calgary Herald, said that there's a direct relationship between EQ and IQ. Emotional intelligence causes people to become in touch with their emotions. It causes self-awareness and self-management. With a low EQ, people may act out. Next, we move on to high school. Now, high school is tough. We all know that far too well. But with a low EQ, it could be even worse. Research suggests that students who have a higher level EQ tend to earn better grades. They also stay in school longer. Clearly, the benefit of a high EQ is that it gets you further in life. Therefore, the deficiency of EQ in schools needs to be addressed, and in order to create better futures. Better futures begin in the workplace, where, unfortunately, there's also an absence of emotional intelligence. You know how, at a young age, your teacher tells you to treat others the way you want to be treated, but then you just kind of ignore it, and as you keep ignoring it, it could affect your future career. In many occupations, teamwork is key. Steve Jobs of Apple said, "Great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people." Steve Jobs means that business will thrive on organized teamwork. With a lack of EQ comes the inability to express your opinions and emotions as well. A low EQ means we can't sell our emotions as well as selling to clients. And Colleen Stanley, a sales author for Sales Leadership Inc., said, "Sales continue to be a problem for many organizations because they're not addressing the core issue for lack of results, which can be attributed to poor emotion management." A salesperson needs to understand and recognize their clients' emotions in order to manage them and sell to them. With a low EQ, we risk having success, and having less success means that maybe you don't get the promotion you'd like. Author of Emotional Intelligence Daniel Goleman says, Leadership is not domination. It's the art of persuading people to work towards a common goal. If you can't lead your own emotions, how can you expect to lead others? Leaders need to unite people, which can be hard with a low EQ. Obviously, EQ is important in fostering and controlling emotions. Emotional intelligence provides a balance in society that we all need. So, why is it that teachers are told to teach the test? Why is it that leaders struggle to control their emotions as well as others? But most importantly, why is it that cognitive intelligence is focused on more than emotional intelligence? The lack of emotional intelligence is proving to have a bigger effect on people. This lack, with schools and businesses not teaching EQ, we're forced to realize it on our own. Lisa Cadane says how her 12-year-old daughter Avery experienced these emotional intelligence problems firsthand. Avery was just a normal girl. Her 9-year-old brother Bennett, however, had autism, and Avery developed a sensitivity for children with special needs. One day, on the school playground, Avery defended a young boy with a learning disability by standing up to some bullies. You see, Avery's brother had caused her to come in touch with her emotions and realize the emotions of others. Lisa Cadane, Avery's mother, says that as she goes through her life, Avery will use her high level of emotional intelligence to harness her thoughts and feelings to cope with stress, something that would help her in so many ways when she went on to college. Since we, as a society, don't come with Avery's high level of emotional intelligence, we're forced to realize it on our own. The question we ask ourselves often is, how can we change this? But in reality, we should be asking ourselves, how can we learn? It's not just about learning in the schoolroom or learning in the workplace, it's about learning within ourselves. So, what can we do? Let's face it, schools aren't going to stop being able to give out standardized tests. But schools don't have to be all about tests. Devin Levin, co-founder of KIPP, a U.S. charter school network, says how he is focused on the character of education for a very long time. He says that the combination of academics and character are the double helix of a good education. Devin Levin is saying that schools can't just focus on cognitive or emotional intelligence. They work together, so they need to be taught together. While it is very important to teach EQ in the classroom, it's also important to teach it in the workroom. So, what can we do about EQ in jobs if people decide to keep their business and personal lives separate? Well, research from Howard Gardner, a Harvard education professor, suggests that inspirational speeches, stories, and the developing of ritual help to inspire people to work together as a team. This can also improve the EQ of an individual. But the best way to improve as an individual, as research suggests, is through your own life experiences. It can be improved through your attitude and reactions to situations. Of course, emotional intelligence isn't going to be fixed, but it can be promoted. Now, I know promoting EQ won't stop schools from giving out tests with stamp designing writing prompts, but I am convinced that more of a focus on emotional intelligence can benefit our society in general.